Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Laurie Smith on Blog Talk Radio. Good morning. It is 5:30 here in the morning, Calgary, Alberta, Wednesday, December 28th. I'm glad to be here. This is One Child Abuse Survivor to Another. We're on for 30 minutes. It's a live internet streaming radio broadcast from blogtalkradio.com. Chat room's open, and I don't have a link in there, but I'm going to just talk today about what direction I want to go in with the show and what's been happening. I have a really bad cold, chest cold, and it's just horrible. But it's been going on since all the way through Christmas and since last week. So hopefully you can understand what I'm saying, and I'm not mumbling too much. But yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thanks everybody for tuning into my shows. I have a lot of people listening to my shows, and I have no idea who you are, and I know who some of you are, but I know most of you are, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen to what I have to say about my own healing journey here in the morning, one child abuse survivor to another, and child abuse prevention issues and stuff like this. I really appreciate everybody who's taking the time to tune into my shows. People's time is limited, and I know how that goes. I'm on a schedule that's pretty tight myself, and I don't have a whole lot of time to do what I want to do, because I'm so busy. But so I appreciate everybody who's taking the time to listen to what I have to say and tune into my shows, and hopefully you're getting something out of them. I'm not a counselor, I'm not a therapist. I'm studying to become a counselor, a biblical counselor, NANC certified, but I'm not a counselor, I'm not a therapist, and I'm working through my own issues here in the morning, one child abuse survivor to another, and my show is really for adults. It's not for younger children. I'm talking about abuse, and abuse is a sensitive subject, and even you as survivors of abuse, if you're listening, you have to be very careful what you're listening to, because this type of information of any kind of, topics dealing with abuse can trigger people, and cause people to kind of go backward in their healing journey. You really don't want that, You have to best decision for yourself and know what you're okay to listen to before you listen to it. So be sure that you're in a safe enough place in your journey and your walk, that you can listen to stuff like this, And if you think the topic of abuse might bother you, anything to do with abuse, then you need to turn the show off, and it is clearly your discretion to listen, right? So thanks everybody for being here. I really appreciate it. We're going to get right into the show. I just want to make a quick announcement. I'm really just so thankful to be asked to be a guest on a show here tonight on Boyd and Lucinda's Blog Talk Radio show called The Streets Don't Love You Back. And that's here on Blog Talk Radio tonight at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8:30 p.m. Pacific Time, and 10:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's Boyd and Lucinda's Blog Talk Radio show. So if you just type into your browser Boyd and Lucinda Blog Talk Radio or The Streets Don't Love You Back or something, it'll take you there. So thanks everybody. I appreciate that. Yeah, I hope you can tune into that. We're going to talk about the issues of what the abuse did to my family, and which I've been talking about here the whole time. And it just different, probably they might have some good questions for me, sort of bring up some different stuff that I haven't talked about too much. Excuse me. But anyway, yes, I have a bad cough. But anyway, so thanks everybody for being here. I really appreciate it. My show, I was talking about this the other day. I did my show yesterday. I slept in actually. I was just very sick, and I didn't get any sleep the night before. I was just up with kind of like a flu and a cold, and it's horrible. But I made it for my show this morning, so that's great. But I was talking about the other day that my healing journey. I've really come a long way in my healing journey, and I'm working on becoming a NANC certified counselor myself, because I want to help people. I want to be on the other end of this, helping people out. And so therefore, I want to be healed so that I can help other people. But I don't want to be so healed that I'm just going to walk away and say, oh, well, I don't remember what that's like. I don't know what that's like to be suffering and to be hurting. And I know what it's like, you know what I mean? So I want to be able to help people out who are suffering and who are having a hard time. In the meantime, I'm still dealing with stuff myself, And so, I'm really working towards my healing journey here. I'm on the last leg of it, I figure, because I've come a long way in the last 5 years. And especially the last 2, but the last 6 months has been really eye-opening for me, because I've been working on the last portion of what I feel that I need to work through, which is just changing my heart, towards the whole thing and allowing myself to walk free, to really experience healing, in order so I can feel joy and so I can be happy and I can move forward in my life, my personal life, and I'm not sitting around, in this state of despair, sort of just feeling down about what I suffered as a child and what my family went through. And the fact that there's certain things that will always be unresolved. There's not it's not like I'm going to be able to get my mother to make up for what she did to me. It's not like I'm going to be able to get my brother to make up for what he did to me. And my dad either. My dad is almost 90 and he's mentally ill and he's an old man. And he's not going to change. And talking to him is like talking to a brick wall. And so the rest of my family were cut off. And so I talk a whole lot about this stuff, in the morning. So that's what I want to do this morning, is sort of just sum it up into just to sort of show what I've been dealing with and what direction I'm going in, and really what I feel is making a difference in my healing journey, right? Because this is what this is all about. And so it's just to show people a process. And so it's just one process, just my process. And so, there is help out there for people, If you're struggling and you're thinking, I just don't know if I can do it, I don't know where to go for help. You have to find out what's best for you. You have to try different things. What works for me may not work for somebody else, or what works for somebody else may not work for me. We all have different needs. We've all been through different things, even though abuse, under one category, if you call it abuse, is abuse, So if you've been abused, we have something in common. We're abused, we've been abused. But we've all been through different things, you know what I mean? We're all different people, and we all handle things differently. We all need different things. So there's no way that one person's healing journey could be the same as another person's healing journey, and that one person would be able to heal the same way that another person would be able to, right? Because we're all different, and so we all need different things. So that's why I would just say, keep looking for what's going to work for you. I've found some great stuff that worked for me. But it doesn't mean it's going to work for anybody else, you know what I mean? Or it doesn't mean that it would help somebody else. But what I wanted to show people was that in this process of looking for what works for me, I've actually been able to make huge progress in my life, and I think that's amazing. It makes me really happy. I came at it as when I first started out, I wasn't sitting around thinking, I'll just do what the counselors do and I'll just heal because I'll just go through the whole thing of what a counselor would do. And go through the back way, you know what I mean, and do it that way. I wasn't necessarily thinking about that, but that's exactly what ended up happening, because I started looking at things the way that a therapist would look at them, or a counselor, and I started basically counseling myself, which is really self-help, you know what I mean. I just decided to take on the role of both parts, look at the whole picture, and allow myself to feel and deal with what I needed to deal with without having to go, out to do this information, because really I trust people. I don't trust people. I still have a hard time trusting people, because you can't trust people. That's why. People are untrustworthy. They will hurt you. They will do stupid things. They will say dumb things. They will not think about their consequences. For me, I couldn't take any more garbage. My life has been, like I talk about this all the time here in the morning, my life has been just hell, And I don't want any more of that, you know what I mean? So I figured, hey, I'll get help myself, you know what I mean, and I'll deal with this myself, and I'll come out victorious in this, and I'll come out healed in this, without the aid of somebody trying to make me feel worse than I already do. And so I decided to do this myself so that I don't have any outside influences trying to make me feel worse than I already do, which is great, because it's actually worked for me. But I can't tell you that it would work for somebody else, you know what I mean? Some people may not be able to do self-help and may have to go see a counselor. Some people may have to go see a psychotherapist. Some people may need medication, So that's why, my journey is just my journey, right? But I would say whatever you do, make sure you get some help, you know what I mean? It's really sad to see people waste their lives because of the abuse that they suffered. See, my mind was stuck in looking back all the time. And it even still is today. I mean, I've always been like that, and that's because of the serious abuse that I suffered. This wasn't like one day of abuse. My mom slapped me or something. I'll boo-hoo, go in my room and cry. My life was hell. You know what I mean? And I wanted to kill myself. I wanted to die. I didn't necessarily want to kill anybody else. I was more interested in killing myself. And I didn't want to hurt other people, right? But I was not doing well. You know what I mean? And 2 of my siblings killed themselves, and The rest of my family is basically dead as far as I'm concerned because they are just as spiritually screwed up as they were when I was with them as a youngster. And so, it destroyed my family. My parents destroyed my family, and me, And so I'm still walking. I was a walking shell of a person, really spiritually dead. And so this is my journey, the portion of my journey for the last 5 years that I've been moved this direction the whole time, but haven't been talking about it here on the show. And that's because I'm a Christian and I do study the Bible every day. I'm in the Word. I'm a born again Christian, born again believer. Which years ago I would be so offended about this stuff because I couldn't deal with my dad being a born again Christian and coming home and doing what he did to his family, and I couldn't deal with other fakey Christians, loving my dad and treating him so well, and it wasn't really their fault. They didn't know what he was doing at home. But the thing is I just saw so many fakey Christians out there. I was just like, oh my God, no, I want nothing to do with that. And even today, I don't want anything to do with that. I'm not into fake Christians, and I'm not into a fake religion. I'm into God, a real relationship with God. And so, but as a Christian, I'm a Christian. So there you go. So I do believe that the Bible is the Word of God, and it's 100% accurate, 100% true. There's truth in it. I find truth in it every single time I open it up. And what I want to do is show how that truth, God's truth, has been moving me to heal. And it's amazing, you know what I mean? Because you're looking at somebody who was in hell. I was in hell. And I climbed out. 5 years ago I decided, okay, I can't stay there. I can't stay in this darkness. I can't stay in this evil stuff. I'm either going to kill myself or I've got to get out of this pit of hell, And that's where I was March, April of 2007. So this is for real. This is not, an exaggeration. I don't really exaggerate. People think I exaggerate, but I really don't. Then when they find out that I don't exaggerate, they're like, oh, you were right. Yeah, I don't exaggerate. I just tell the truth. That's why I'm telling the truth of the horrors of what my family went through and what I experienced as a child. I don't exaggerate. If anything, I don't minimize either. I just tell it like it is, but sometimes I may not mention something. So I may forget to talk about something that was very important, but I only have so much time to do this stuff, right? But the thing is that I don't minimize anything. I don't exaggerate. I just tell it like it is. I was in hell, and I was able to go to work and function and live two different lives. I was able to get dressed in the morning, go to work, but at the end of the day, I was like, this is such garbage. I hate this life. I hate myself. I hate this existence, and I hate my body. I hate this very person that I am, And I hate what my parents did to me. And I had a lot of hatred in my heart. I had a lot of anger, a lot of rage, a lot of frustration, a lot of misery and sorrow and depression and everything that was dark and evil. Everything that was darkness was in my heart. And in the meantime, I could still love people, There was still that little bit of that stuff left in me that I could be a socially accepted person, I could go to work and make friends and, not very good friendships because I've never been able to do that. But, I could still do what normal people do and exist on the planet without ending up in a straitjacket, or in prison. But the thing is that I was imprisoned in my heart. I was in a straitjacket in my mind, and so I was like, this has got to change. I'm either going to kill myself or I've got to move. I've got to get out of this hell. And I was born again. I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior May 22nd, 2007. And from that moment on, I really started to allow the Lord and the God to work on my heart because I knew that I did not want to stay the same way. And that's why most people go to counselors. Most people seek out therapists. Most people seek out counselors because they want change. They're obviously down, something is wrong. Something's not working in their life. May not be as drastic as what I was going through, or it may be worse, right? So it could be either worse or not as bad as what I was going through. But people will seek counseling and treatment to help themselves feel better, right? And so this is where I was at, I was like, I need change. I need something to change on the inside of me. I need to be able to feel love for myself. I need to be able to wipe out some of the painful memories that I carry with me from being abused as a child. I need something that's going to make me feel like this life really is worth living, and that I am worth something in it, and that I mean something to somebody. Because in my own family, I didn't mean anything to anybody, and I still don't. I mean, honestly, there's a couple people in my family, I won't name names, that I would say still love me, but the rest of my family doesn't care. They really don't, and they never did. And so I don't have any connections with people on the earth. And I mean, this is the truth. I'm just honest. I'm just honest all the time. Like, I don't have any connections here. I don't have any real connections. I have one good friend who's in Australia, Gypsy Witch Kate, and I have about 1,400 friends on Facebook that, to be honest with you, that's an awesome connection for me, because those people, I have more of a connection with them than I have had with anybody. All right? So thank God for them. But and my sweetheart. So, I mean, I don't have a whole lot of connections like a lot of people might have, whole families and whole, siblings and grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins and maybe some, seriously old relationships with friends and a husband and their family and their sister-in-laws and whatnot. Like, my life is pretty quiet compared to a lot of people's as far as that goes, Like, I mean, if I list out who I could possibly send a Christmas card to, it would have to be mostly my friends on Facebook and my friend Gypsy Witch Kate in Australia. I don't have any support really other than that. My life is pretty much just doing my thing here on the earth. And so I thought, man, like I really needed to work to change my relationship with God, and to change my relationship with myself, to change my relationship with other people so that I could have decent relationships with people, because I was always going to push everybody away. I was always going to push everybody out. It's a miracle that I actually hung on to my sweetheart as long as I have. So because we've been together 16 years, that's a miracle. And I think the only reason why is because it works for us. He doesn't crowd me. He gives me my space. I don't crowd him. I give him his space. And we totally agreed that we didn't need each other, so that's why it works for us. Because neither one of us could be in a relationship where we needed to feel like we were, that it was going to be the be-all and end-all, that we have to be side by side the whole time, and we have to be crowding each other. We both didn't want that. And so we're both on our own journeys, two separate journeys, actually. And so it worked for us, It worked for me, right? But, most relationships I was not able to handle. I mean, I get rid of people as fast as they come into my life. I just push them out because I'm like, you know what, you're gone. You know what I mean? And that's from being abused as a child. And I thought, man, I can't continue on this road. I just can't. And especially coming home from work wanting to kill myself every night, that's ridiculous. Because I remembered what it was like to be myself at those young ages, watching my family be destroyed, knowing what my mother did to me, hearing my mother's voice in my head continually with the horrible verbal assaults that she would put on me, knowing, what happened to me being sexually abused as a child. I mean, I was ready to kill myself almost every night. And people wouldn't know that, because I wouldn't tell them, oh, yeah, I go home and I'm ready to kill myself every night. You know what I mean? But that's how down I was. That's how much in despair I was, because I watched my mother suffer. I watched the despair and the evil despair and garbage around my parents was just horrific. And the spiritual damage that was done was horrific. We were spiritually abused in every way, psychologically abused, emotionally, verbally abused, physically abused, sexually abused. This was absolutely horrific. It was a hellhole to grow up in. So I needed to be able to change everything about the way that I felt, the way that I thought. My thought process needed to change. My emotions needed to change. My coping mechanisms needed to change. Everything needed to change. And I thought, man, how am I going to do this? Because I'm not going to go see a therapist or a counselor unless I absolutely, last resort, have to. Because I want to do this myself because I trust myself rather than trusting somebody else with myself, because I don't trust people because all they've ever done is hurt me, And that's the truth of it. So, I thought, well, I'm going to have to rely on God, because my relationship with God 5 years ago when I accepted Jesus into my life, I'm a Christian, so, it doesn't matter whether you're Muslim or Hindu or whatever. I mean, you can understand, having that relationship with your God, the very one who you believe and who you know in your heart created you and is supposed to love you and is supposed to be in your life, and I know that God was in my life the whole time, but I was very angry with God. I didn't have a personal relationship with him, and I was just really cursing him because I was just like, how could you let this stuff happen to people, not just myself, but around the world? I couldn't understand it. I couldn't get a grip on the fact that these are men's hearts. This is men's choices to do these things. It was my parents' choice to do what they did to us. See, the responsibility, I was throwing all of that responsibility onto God, and it wasn't even God's fault, because God gave us all a choice. See, otherwise he would have just made us puppets. But we're not puppets. He gave man a heart to make choices. He gave man a mind to make choices. He gave us our mind, our will, and our emotions. He gave us a heart so that we could know what love is, and that we could also make the choice to know what evil is. And I tell you, I can't even understand the mind of those people, those evil people that could possibly do these things to children or do these things to another person. I don't understand it. It's always ripped me up inside to think that a human being could do such horrible, torturous acts to another person. And that just doesn't encompass child abuse. I mean, I have been interested in war crimes my whole life. I've been interested in war, children in poverty, what's going on around the world. What's going on around the world is in men's hearts. Nothing to do with God. God gave us a choice, and we decided, we'll try to meet our own needs. We'll go ahead and kill, maim, rape, and do the work of the devil to meet our own needs, so that they don't have to have a God over them. Well, look what it's got them. Look what it's got them. And do people repent? Not really. You know what I mean? People don't really care that they hurt people, because their hearts are evil. See, this proves to me that the Bible is truth, right? Because the Bible spells it all out. And to me, it makes total sense. You know what I mean? That the Word of God is truth, and that there's truth in it. Because God gave us a choice, and He says, you choose good, you choose cursing, you choose blessing, you choose good, you choose evil, your choice. You choose who you're going to serve, And so I just believe that men's hearts are really, capable of doing such horrific things because it's obvious. I grew up in it. I don't know how my parents could sleep at night doing what they did to each other. Well, they didn't. They didn't used to sleep at night. They were miserable people who let the devil, really, I can't say that because that was their responsibility. Well, they just opened the door to evil, right? And they had hatred in their heart for each other. They had hatred in their heart for their family, for their children. They blamed it on their own parents and on the times. This is a fact. My mom blamed her stuff on my dad, first of all. Said it was all my dad's fault. So in other words, the fact that she was abusing me and abusing all the other kids was my dad's fault. No, it was her fault. She was choosing to beat on us. She was choosing to curse us. She was choosing to throw things at us and to throw us around and to hurt us. Right? It wasn't my dad forcing her to do that. She made a choice. Right? She didn't have to do that. My dad blamed his stuff, and she also blamed her stuff on her own mother, who abused her, right? And all the other kids in the family and killed one of her own sons. My grandmother was a horrible woman. And my dad, he did the same thing. He blames, and for real, I was about to have a letter written by him what he blames. He blames the devil. He says the devil made him do what he did to his wife and his children, which is false. He had a choice. He did not have to serve the devil. He could have chosen to have love in his heart for his wife. He could have love and care and concern for his children, right? Instead of that, he chose to hurt his wife and hurt his children. Right? That's lovely. Thank you so much. He was great to the neighbors. So was my mom. My mom was wonderful to other people. And other people's children, she loved other people's children. She hated her own children, right? That's really sad. The reason why is because she hated my dad. And so she hated the offspring of my dad. Except for she loved her sons. She always says, I loved my sons. But she wouldn't do anything to help her sons. She wouldn't lift a finger to help them. She enabled and co-enabled their prison visits and their drug use, and with my dad abusing them, right, and her abusing them. Right? It was just garbage. And my parents were just blaming everybody else instead of looking at the fact that it was really, truly their own decisions to do what they did, And my dad blaming the devil, blaming and he says, the devil made me do it, and also it was the 1960s, the 1970s, 1980s. I'm like, what was it, Dad? The 1990s, the 1950s, the 1940s. He was just screwed up, And here he goes and blames the devil, the time, the era. You know, it was just the time. It was the era, right? It's like, okay, Dad, that's why you came home and you beat on Mom, you beat on the kids, and that's why you got busted and arrested on child abuse charges as well as Mom, because the devil made you do it. Right, you know? Yeah, okay, blame it on the devil. Well, that was just as bad as me blaming it on God, saying that, oh, well, all this trouble in the world is all God's fault. It's the same exact sad, sorry excuse. It doesn't fly. What's going on with this evil world, and the reason why we have people hurting children, maiming children, abusing children, sexually using children, is because women's hearts are evil. And you know, it's the issue of the heart. All of this stuff is. I figured this stuff out quite a while back. I'd say 5 years ago, and I've been working on talking about this stuff, because the reason why I talk about child abuse prevention is Up to Us at Night is because it's an issue of the heart. We have to change people's hearts in order to get them to stop beating on their children. How are you going to do that? It's like you have to get a hold of these people and you say, stop what you're doing. Look what you're doing to your children. You know, why are you doing that to your children? Why would you beat and stab your child to death? Why? Because you have evil in your heart. You know, why would you sexually use your child? Because you have evil in your heart. You know, why would you hurt your wife? Why would you hurt your husband? Why would you hurt your girlfriend or your boyfriend or somebody that you're supposed to love and you're supposed to be protecting and taking care of? Because you have evil in your heart, that's why. And you're choosing to be your own God, and you're choosing to say, I will get my needs met, and I will put all of my strife and all of my troubles on this one person. You know, there's no excuse for this stuff. There's no excuse at all. There's no excuse in the secular world, in the regular world, and there's no excuse in God's eyes either. Abuse is murder. Abuse is exactly murder to God. It's equal. He counts it the same. Verbal abuse, physical abuse, doesn't matter what kind of abuse, is murder in God's eyes. People are murdering their children every day. And for real, murdering, ending up in body bags, or they're ending up just murdered, their soul murdered. You know, so I was spiritually dead. Was soul murdered by both my parents and one of my siblings, and I needed to find God. I needed to know God for real. You know, instead of just looking at God as being this God that would allow these horrible things to happen, as a bad God. You know, I knew who Jesus was, and I loved Jesus, and I thought, man, if God is love and Jesus is love, you know, and God is love, then that doesn't fit with my picture from my whole childhood and my whole youth of growing up thinking that God doesn't care about me and that God doesn't love me and that he wanted to see me suffer. I mean, there's something wrong with this picture. You know, my brain, I really needed to get a hold of my mental picture, my thoughts, my mind, my emotions. I needed to get a hold of my heart. I needed to get a hold of my soul and my spirit and allow myself to allow something to change it. So I've been looking in the worldly stuff, and I've also been looking in the biblical stuff, because I find it's in both, you know, and that's a fact. I mean, I don't believe that there isn't truth in both, and I think that a lot of people have it right, you know what I mean? But it's just that sort of where I'm going with my show. And it's all an issue of the heart, you know what I mean? And we have to, you know, why would anybody seek a counselor or therapist anyway? Because they want to change what's going on inside of them. They want to change their life. They want to change their hearts. They want to change maybe their belief systems. They want to change the way they feel about themselves. They want to feel better, right? They want to feel good. They want to feel better. Well, that's exactly what I've done. And I've made huge, huge progress in doing so. And you know, in doing that, I just, you know, I feel that that really, why not? You know, help other people out as well. And so that's why I'm working on becoming a certified counselor. But the thing is, you know, I'm still working on my stuff, you know, in the meantime. So I understand what it's like to be on the other side of this stuff, you know, with forgiveness issues and whatnot. So we're going to pick back up here, and we'll just take a look at some of the stuff that I found, some of the basic stuff about what God thinks about abuse and what and abuse affects our lives if we let it, you know. So don't allow the abuse that you suffer to destroy you. Don't allow it to. You know, reach out and get some help, whatever type of help it is. You know, you make a phone call if you can't find a friend around to talk to and you think, I just don't know what I'm going to do. Phone a crisis line, phone somebody. But get some support. Call a women's center. Call somebody. If you're a guy, call a men's center. Do something, but call somebody. Get some help. Do not allow yourself to be destroyed by this, right? It's not okay. We certainly deserve so much better. We certainly are worth so much more. Have a great day, everybody. Talk to you real soon.